Mr. Grimes is behaving very strangely, said Back to Front. Mr. Grimes was lying on his back, bicycling. He's doing keep fit exercises, said Dotty.
I don't like the sound of that,
said Sad Sack. After lunch, Mr. Grimes went into town, and when he came back, he was wearing sunglasses. He'd also bought a suitcase. "Whatever is he up to?" asked Princess. "It's perfectly obvious," said Dotty. "He's planned a holiday." On Friday night, when the factory closed for the weekend, the Raggy Dolls searched Mr. Grimes' office for clues. Hi-Fi was looking at the calendar on Mr. Grimes's desk. There was a big circle around Saturday. That's tomorrow. He's going tomorrow, he spluttered. "Oh, I wish we could go with him," sighed Lucy.
I've just had an idea,
said Sad Sack.
Why don't we go with him?
"With him?" cried all the Raggy Dolls.
Well, I don't suppose we'd enjoy it.
"On the contrary, we'd enjoy it very much," said Dotty. "It's one of your better ideas, Sad Sack. Now, put on your thinking caps, everyone. How can we go along without Mr. Grimes finding out?" "We could go in his suitcase," said Back to Front. "Splendid," said Dotty. "Well done, chaps." Mr. Grimes lived in a cottage across the yard from this toy factory. The Raggy Dolls could see that he slept with his window wide open, which was lucky. There was a ladder in the garden, so up they climbed. Mr. Grimes slept very soundly. He never heard a thing. "Look!" hissed Dotty. There was an overnight bag on a chair by his bed. "But he must be taking more than that," whispered Lucy. "There is no room for clothes in there," observed Claude. "Or for Raggy Dolls," whispered Princess. "Follow me," hissed Dotty. Downstairs, in the hall, they found a much larger suitcase already packed. It had a zip all the way round and a label saying Grimes. "What do we do now?" asked Lucy. First we unzip it and then we empty it," said Back to Front. "No problem." So they unzipped the suitcase and hid all Mr. Grimes' clothes neatly in the cupboard under the stairs. "Ah, Maman, he will need his bathing costume," said Claude. "Good thinking," agreed Dotty. When they were all in the suitcase, Hi-Fi closed the lid. Back to Front zipped it up again from inside with one of the useful tools he always carried in his pockets. It was dark and stuffy inside, and the Raggy Dolls had to lie end to end like sardines in a tin. But it was worth it. They knew they were in for a great adventure.
We're going to the seaside, seaside, seaside. We're going to the seaside, down by the sea.
Next morning, very early, Mr. Grimes set off on his holiday. He carried his suitcase in one hand and his overnight bag in the other, and a bucket and spade, because he hadn't been to the seaside since he was a boy, and more than anything else, he wanted to make sandcastles. He also took his umbrella to keep off the rain. It was working already because there wasn't a cloud in the sky.
"I could use it as a sunshade," thought Mr. Grimes, "when it gets too hot on the beach."
The Raggy Dolls knew they were in a coach because they could hear the engine running. There was also background music to keep the passengers happy. Mr. Grimes soon fell asleep. So did the Raggy Dolls. The journey passed very quickly. In no time at all, they were there. They felt themselves swinging through the air as the hotel porter carried Mr. Grimes' suitcase up to his bedroom. They heard Mr. Grimes say,
"I'll leave the unpacking till after lunch, as I'm feeling a bit peckish."
"Quick," said Dotty. "Now's our chance." And just as he'd zipped them in, now Back to Front unzipped the suitcase so that they could all climb out again. Mr. Grimes' bedroom had a window and a door leading onto a balcony. Oh, what a sight! The Raggy Dolls gazed with delight. There was the sea below, stretching away to the horizon, and a strip of sandy beach running down from the hotel to the water's edge.
The sea looks very wet,
said Sad Sack. Oh, really? What did you expect? Snapped Dotty.
Could we explore the beach while Mr. Grimes is having his lunch?
Suggested Hi-Fi. What an absolutely spiffing idea, cried Princess. I can't wait. Carefully, making sure that no one was looking, the Raggy Dolls crept out of the hotel and set off along the beach. The sand was hot and powdery. Their feet sank deep into it, so deep that one of Lucy's legs came unstuck and Sad Sack had to carry her. It was very hot.
Phew. Phew. Let's have a rest,
he puffed. So the Raggy Dolls sunbathed, except for Hi-Fi and Dotty, who slid down the dunes on old bits of driftwood. Sad Sack found a rock pool. He looked in and saw a jellyfish. The jellyfish stared back. Thought Sad Sack.
You look a bit like me.
Back at the hotel, Mr. Grimes was unpacking his suitcase. He looked very surprised because it was empty. He was sure he'd packed it full of holiday clothes last night before going to bed. But now, there was only his bathing costume inside. Every day for a week, the Raggy Dolls watched Mr. Grimes trying to make sandcastles. He must have forgotten how. Many years had passed since he was a boy. It was lucky the tide washed them away each night. On the last day of his holiday, there was to be a sandcastle competition. All the children in the hotel were to take part, and, of course, Mr. Grimes.
I'm a child at heart,
He explained to the porter.
I run a toy factory, you know, when I'm not on holiday.
Very nice, too.
Said the porter. Mr. Grimes found a patch of beach all to himself and set to work. But the hot sun on his back and the soothing swish of little waves uncurling on the shore soon made his eyes grow heavy. He stretched out on his towel and fell asleep. The umbrella made a beautiful sunshade.
I've had another good idea,
Said Sad Sack.
Why don't we finish his sandcastle for him?
Yeah, it'll be a kind of thank you for taking us on holiday, said Back to Front. Even though he doesn't know he's done it, giggled Lucy.
And even so, he did not take us to the south of France,
said Claude. The Raggy Dolls soon turned Mr. Grimes's wobbly turrets into a magnificent fortress with a moat and a drawbridge and walls covered in shells. There were slit windows and a seaweed garden, and on the top of the tallest tower, Claude fixed a seagull's feather for a flag. When Mr. Grimes woke up, he was pleased to find that he'd won first prize in the sandcastle competition. He couldn't wait to show his cup to the factory workers. The Raggy Dolls could hear them all oohing and ahhing across the yard. It didn't take long to unzip themselves and put all Mr. Grimes's holiday clothes back into his suitcase.
I don't know,
said Mr. Grimes when he unpacked before bed.
I could have sworn I only took my bathing costume. Oh, well, there's holidays for you.
And he slept better than ever in his own comfortable bed. So did the Raggy Dolls, back in their reject bin.